Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rocket Fuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. Ooh, caliente! Oh, this is gonna be a good one. First of all, I love this guest dearly, and I just love her energy, and I think you're gonna love it too. But what we're gonna talk today about, my dear Rocketeers, are all of you beautiful people that get a rash when you think about sales. Sales, right? Like, some people really love it. They're like, yeah, this is good stuff. And they're in one brain mindset, and then there are a slew of other people that are literally like, oh my gosh, I can't do it, I'm gonna hide it. Right? And this is critical. This is critical, like, for our businesses as small business owners, for people in the corporate environment, and for life. Like, if you shy away from this shit, then things are not gonna open up. Opportunities aren't gonna open up as you deserve them. So we are introducing to you Annie P. Ruggles. She is the founder. Yeah, she's the coolest schmoolest founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. I mean, come on, what does that tell you already? She's the ease with non-sleaze. But so, Annie, tell us, like, how long have you been working on the academy itself?
The academy itself, oh my God, what is time? With COVID now, I have to be like, it feels like a day, but it was several years. Let's see, the academy itself was born in 2019. So we're going on year 2.5, basically, on that, which is awesome. And before that, I had a decade of marketing and branding behind me. But I had, even with that, was like, no selling, never the selling. I will never do this. And so I don't know how, to be completely honest, my previous business survived for almost a decade with my sales avoidance, other than the fact that I drove myself into extreme burnout. So the last 2.5 years have been infinitely more fun, infinitely more profitable, and a lot more relaxing than the previous decade.
Interesting. All right, so we're gonna like do a rewind and get back to what you were doing before that made you kind of aware of this concept of sales avoidance and such, and your marketing business and all that jazz. Do tell.
Well, I've always loved working with the same type of people, like hearts the size of a planet, gorgeous brains, really deep passion and longing to serve. But when you work with someone like that, or when you are someone like that, as I am, we treat our business as very precious, right? And so marketing and branding was really fun because it was dressing up the baby.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, oh, you got a baby. Let's put a bow on it. Let's give it a great name.
I never thought of it like that, but yeah.
Right. But it's dressing up the baby. It's very, very different than when you have to put that baby on stage and be like, please critique this and decide if this is for you. It's very different. That preciousness hurts if we're doing it out of our integrity, right? And I didn't know how to sell with integrity. I only knew how to sell based on what I saw in movies or the handful of books that I read, all of which had really great stuff, but none of it really sounded like me. And so what I thought was, I will market myself out of a selling issue. That cannot be done.
Say that again. You cannot market yourself
out of a sales issue. You cannot. I call it the martyrdom of over marketing, right? Because it puts us in this tipped give cycle of content, love, ideas, free help. All of that is great. If you're going to ask at the end. If you're not going to ask at the end, then all you've done is depleted yourself for nothing. I didn't understand that. And I didn't understand really that I was doing that until I watched my clients struggle back in the marketing and branding thing. And I'm like, they have the most beautiful baby on the market. They have the most gorgeous brain in the universe. Why do they have to decide if they're going to pay me and eat ramen or if they're going to be able to feed their family this week? This is weird. This is wrong. What's wrong with this? And so I started looking at how often they were asking, and they were modeling me. So that answer was never.
Ah, ha, 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 ha.
Right?
No, yeah,
right?
I'm thinking
Worst
about.
day.
I'm thinking about some things right now that I'm not doing so right, and I'm letting my own stuff get in the way, but trying to
We
help.
all do. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like when most people who take the entrepreneurial path just jump off the cliff and then figure out what skills they don't have in practice. It's easy, though, to understand, oh, I don't have graphic design skills.
Mhm.
Right? Like I messed around in Canvas for 2 hours. I can't make anything look good. I don't have graphic design skills. Okay, well, then that's a delegatable thing. But I don't have sales skills is something we're going, well, I don't want sales skills because salesmen are gross and my business is precious and my baby is beautiful and I don't want that. Or, well, I don't know. And that seems like too big a road to cross, right? Like I'll deal with that when I have to deal with that. Guess what, y'all? You have to deal with that now, right now. But right now.
Yeah, and what's interesting using this analogy, which I have never heard before, dress up your baby, but when you think about that, when you're all into, first of all, it's your baby, right?
Yep.
Then you're all into dressing up the baby, and then you have to put it out there to, well, I don't like to say to get bought, but to, let's say
you're dropping them off at school. You're dropping them off at the first day of preschool.
Or at a modeling agency where they have to be accepted or denied. So let's take this because somebody was like, oh, why don't you take your kids, to a modeling agency? And I'm like, well, yeah, they take beautiful pictures and stuff like that. I just don't want them to go through that process. So this is where my brain is aligning. The challenge there is that you have to think of the end game, right? So if you're so attached to the preciousness of the child, the thing that you made, right, then you may lose sight as like ultimately, well, you made this thing for this reason. And so once you put it out in front of people, is it functioning that for that reason? You need to be able to modify, and it's tough. And so if you shy away from sales, are you saying that sometimes we're just a little too personally connected to the product itself and its success? Is that like one factor?
Well, I think a lot of it is also how you've been taught to look at your own gifts, right? And I'm not knocking religion. I was raised Catholic. I love it. But there is something challenging about selling what you perceive to be a God-given gift. Right. So whether or not you were born and raised religious or in that or out of that, there is some of this idea of like, this is my purpose, capital P. This is my calling, capital C.
The universe has put this in front. Yeah. Like all of these things where you feel like you're destined.
Right. And so therefore, am I going to charge for my destiny? Did Hercules charge for the wonders? Y'all. Yes, you have to charge. Adele charges to sing. Adele does not sing for free, right? The incredible Michelin chef down the road does not say, oh, come in and taste my wares for free. They don't. They have to make a business. And so one of the things I see in that preciousness is it's unwilling to put a price tag on what we consider to be the essence of us. It's not the essence of you, babes. It's the essence of your business. And you are a provider, but more than a provider, you are a business. So if you took those natural skills to a job, you would expect to be salaried for that, bringing that skill to the table, your communication skills, your big heart, your diplomacy, whatever it may be. You'd be like, yes, that's part of the job, and therefore I will collect my check. But something happens when we live so firmly in our zone of excellence that it's really easy to just go, well, this is what I was meant to do, so I should be giving it away for free. Or cheap. Free or cheap.
Cheap. Right. Yeah. Well, because when somebody doesn't buy, it's taken as a rejection of your
Right.
brilliance.
Right. They don't want me.
Right.
Not they don't want my packages, not that the timing's not right, not that they don't have the financial oxygen to invest right now. This person that I have built a relationship with through my marketing has now heard what they should or could pay me and has therefore slammed the door in my face. No.
Right.
Right? No.
Right,
Rejection
right.
sucks and it will always suck, but it's infinitely worse when you feel like the person across the transaction is rejecting you. Right? It's totally different.
So you're saying the core of this sales avoidance feeling is, I mean, is it manageable? Can it change that?
Gosh, yes. The amazing thing about sales avoidance is that, yes, there's a lot of strategy. I teach a lot of strategy. I teach a lot of language, right, for selling specifically. But before that, we have to flip that switch of sales avoidance. And the great thing is, it really is a switch. When you redefine selling for yourself, that is a lasting thing. It's still going to be uncomfortable sometimes. You're still going to want to lean out of it sometimes. But once you realize that all selling truly is the art of problem solving for money. That's it. The art of problem solving for money. Once you rewire that in your head and you show up confident about the problems you solve, then it's exciting to be able to say, I would love to cross that next finish line with you. And the cost for that is this. Does that work? Does that land? It's an infinitely different feeling when we know that they need something that we have or they don't.
Right.
Do I have a need or not? Do I need the matching shoes or not? Nope. I already have a pair of toe heels. No, thank you, Mr. Upsale Sales Boy. I don't need the matching shoes. He's not going to cry. Even if he's on commission, he's not going to go, I recommended shoes and she said no.
She doesn't like me, right?
And yet, you know, we say, do you want to add a one-on-one session on top of that membership? And they're like, well, not right now. I think I'll get into it yet. And they sign up for, you know, one of our offers, but not both of our offers. And even that feels like, oh, I should never have put myself out there. How embarrassing. They're not rejecting you more than you're rejecting a side of fries at a restaurant when you're not even that hungry, right? It's all about what they need. What happens in sales avoidance is we let our discomfort, our lack of sales training or only sales training that doesn't vibe with us in terms of our integrity. It's when we let them make that conversation about us. Selling is always about the person on the other end of the transaction when done beautifully.
Woo! All right, we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go deep. But this is so awesome. But my Rocketeers know that if you have been inspired by this point, I want you to be inspired into action. And Annie put together. Ooh, Nelly. Annie put together this awesome guide called "Ditch Your Sales Baggage." Bitch. No, I mean, we didn't put the bitch. We could have.
We could have called this like ditch your sales baggage, bitch. We could have.
But in order to receive this, I mean, it's a brilliant piece and it's really great for those people that are empathic, they're introverted, you're a service provider. And I love your concept of wanting to help people like fall in love with asking, actually like dig it, right? So this is how you get it. You're going to pull out your phone. You're going to text. Easy. How easy is that?
So easy.
Easy to 411-321. Just text easy to 411-321. If you haven't texted one of our catchwords before, be sure to provide your email address and then voila, it will be in your email inbox like instantaneously. Make sure that you take the time to read it. This is really, really good stuff. I know Annie, she spent a lot of time on putting this together for our dear Rocketeers. So please text easy to 411-321. And of course, if you are outside of the US, we don't forget you. You can now use WhatsApp, but you're going to have to text to the number 1-909-741-1321. It's all in the show notes. But the message or the word is easy. All right. Once again, provide your email address and all that good stuff comes along. Do it. It's well worth it if any of this resonates with you. And I feel like I'm like, oh, Natalie, I should have brought some tissues. But anyway, so tell me about this interesting component of empathic and introverted service providers.
Perfect.
So can you kind of define that a little bit more?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, of course. So a whole lot of service providers in the world, especially those people with the capital P purposes, the capital V vocations, the capital C callings, right? A lot of them identify as empathic, highly sensitive, or introverted, just because of the nature of that care in us, right?
Okay.
And what we have been conditioned to think by traditional selling or your ideas of selling or the sales baggage you're going to find out when you text easy to 411321. See what I did there, Wanda?
You good.
Snuck that on in. But what happens about all of that is that we think I am this, therefore I cannot sell. Or cannot sell well, right? These are the excuses, the traits that we use that are actually amazing at helping us build those connections and listen well and all of these things. But we go, oh, well, I'm not gregarious. I can't sell well. Introverts sell fantastically when they know what they're doing because introverts are the best listeners on the planet Earth. They are the most observant, the most great listeners. They are the most intimately available because they create safe space just by not trying to take up all the space in the room, right? So introverts are incredible at selling when they know what to listen for. Empaths, ooh, my bleeding hearts, my beloved darlings. Empaths feel like they can't sell well because they can't arm twist. They don't want to dance on pain points. If an empath dances on a pain point, they feel like they're putting the person they're talking to in pain. They're re-traumatizing the person. And then they're going to feel that. And I don't want to feel everybody's pain points all day long. That sounds emotionally exhausting. Turns out, empaths, like I said with introverts, are incredible at creating a safe space for others to be vulnerable and to show up authentically. How? Because of their warmth, because of their capacity for caring, because of the deep understanding they have. They can read between the lines of what's going on with someone. That's incredible. Right? But again, an empath is going to go, I don't want to dance on the pain point. Who better than an empath to say, wow, this must really suck for you? I can imagine how hard and challenging that must be. I would love to step in and help you solve that problem. Who better? Who better than an empath? Nobody, right? Nobody. And yet we feel like if we didn't come out of the womb as Grant Cardone, we're not ever going to be able to sell. And Grant Cardone is great. But for most of my people, he's not relatable because they don't see his introversion or his sensitivity or his empathic heart. They just see him get out there and be like, yes, sell or be sold. Come on, get in here. You know,
right.
Talk about the problem, talk about the value. Amazing. Talk about the problem, talk about the value. Yes, all day. But we have to look at people's natural disinterest in doing that or straight up aversion to doing that and get that out of the way first.
Interesting. So I have what's potentially an odd question. I don't know.
I love odd questions.
So yeah. So like I'm just thinking as I'm preparing for my business to launch some YouTube ads, I think of myself as like these potential multiple personalities in the sense of I have the empathic, but I don't have the introvert. So in a sales call, I could take up a lot of space, right? But then the empath is like, oh, the hearing and listening, whatever. But in a YouTube video, I'm like, could you kind of mix it up? Like if you have portions of it, do you have to weave all of it into one sales call? Or is it like, well, maybe one of my videos is that extroverted, like, yeah. And the other video is like, man, this sucks. You're doing this, this.
As long as it's naturally you. Right. So I have phenomenally large Muppet energy, but I can also keep it real. Right. Yeah. And so for me, if you watch one of my videos and in one video, I'm like, which happens. And the next video, I'm like, let's talk about pain points and I'm keeping it real. I will normally say like, hey, guys, I'm going to tone down the Muppet today so that I can get real with y'all. It's still me, but I'm explaining the difference in tone. Right. And so I feel like one of the things, since I'm always reminding people that sales is about the person on the other end of the transaction, what's really important about how things are received and what tone you're showing up in is different people will need different sides of you. And if you're not doing one on one calling, you need to diversify your marketing enough to make sure that people that do not give a flying crap about your story, your family, or how you got there are getting just as much marketing knowledge and value as the person who wants to know everything, wants to know the middle names of all of your children and what your dream is for your life, right? Or there are people that just want to know, like, my membership has 3 group calls a week, checkbox. There are other people that want to know what happens on those group calls, right? They want to know the process. They want to know the effort that goes into it. They're not checkbox people, they're strategy people, right?
Yeah.
So if every time I talk about my business, I just say, here's what's included, or here's why I'm doing this, I'm leaving out all kinds of people in between. And that's awesome because I could be super Muppet about 3 calls and 3 programs and da 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 da. I'm just listing facts at you.
Yeah.
Right. But then if I'm going to tell you my story about how I almost drove myself out of my business, it's going to be calmer. Right. So it's not always the easiest thing. You'll think storytelling, big energy, listing facts, low energy. Not necessarily. Right? Because if I tell you how I almost killed my business and we get me beyond the Muppet to be like, let's talk about borrowing money from everyone I've ever met. Let's talk about launching problems and having them publicly fail. That's all storytelling. That's all me up in my feels. But it's a really real and true story for me. So my perceived energy is going to be lower. Right. But it's about choosing the tone that the people across the aisle, across the transaction need in order to hear what they need to hear and think what they need to think, which is why I'm always telling everybody, I get asked all the time, is sales manipulative? Yeah, it's manipulative as hell. But the difference is it's manipulative with their knowing and consent.
Yeah. Yeah, you're taking them on a journey that they're aware of. They're aware of. Yeah. Oh man. So tell me, I'm just interested in like little Annie, right? So like did you, if you look back, are there like hints of little Annie, doing this type of work, doing this type of coaching work or whatever? Tell me.
Little Annie was a hot mess, but little Annie was the child and is the child of 2 entrepreneurs. My mom is a decorated motivational speaker and my dad is a business consultant. Both of them are retired now, but I grew up in this entrepreneurial environment, right? And I was a theater kid. I have a musical theater degree. That was my whole thing. And so anytime when I was little and people would be like, Annie, are you going to get on stage with your mom or like your mom? I'd be like, no. That's her thing now, which is hysterical because then I did wind up speaking with my mom and I do speak to this day, but in a different way. My mom's a keynoter. I love a good workshop. Right. So that was there. But I think the biggest tell of me winding up in this line of work from when I was a little loud Italian Irish kid was if we were driving down the street and I'm in like my car seat or whatever, or I guess even as an older kid, if we drove by somewhere and it had a going out of business sign, it does not matter. If I've never been in that business, I don't know what that business is. If I have, I'm 7 years old and it's an H&R Block, I have no business being in. It didn't matter. If I saw going out of business, I would sob, bawl, because I understood that people's businesses are their dreams because I was looking at my parents. Right. And so for me, anytime I'd see going out of business, I'd be like, that's somebody else's parent losing their dream. And that was never okay to me. So I always wanted to like get in there with the mom and pops and make sure that they have the best and shiniest thing. But that's what I was providing. Again, I was dressing up their babies. Yeah. Instead of getting them ready to position themselves as experts and purchasable people.
Right. Oh my goodness. So then when you were doing the marketing thing and you realize, okay, my clients are kind of suffering from this, what was your first kind of entree into this non-sleazy Sales Academy thing?
I listen to a lot of sales calls, mine and loved ones, clients, randoms that I would be like, hey, trying out this weird new thing. Would you mind sending me one of your sales calls? Don't tell me if it's good, bad, or ugly. Just send it and I'll figure that out. Right.
Uh-huh.
And I told people, I don't care if you get a yes at the end, a no at the end. I just want to hear your stuff. Well, all of my clients weren't getting an anything at the end because they would be like, wow, what a great conversation. Thanks so much for your time today, Wanda. I hope you now understand what I do. Bye. What? And so that was like 90% of the time. And then 10% on the calls that didn't go anywhere. And the other 10% of the time on the calls that didn't go anywhere, maybe not 10, maybe like 20 to 30%, whatever. It's fake math anyway. But the other thing that I would see, which was even worse, and where the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy came from, the idea of it was we would be having a conversation just like we're having right now, right? Because this is what selling is. Selling is relationships. Selling is give and take. Selling is listening and responding, right? All of that is true. People would get all the way through the call. They'd get to the point where they're supposed to be selling. They would have had this kind of rapport all along. And then they would have been like, okay, Wanda, we're running out of time. I think it's now important that I tell you about what I do and that how you can pay me. Thank you so much for your time today. I do not offer a guarantee. And it's like, where the hell did the person go?
What happened?
Right? Like they felt.
What happened?
What happened? Oh my God. Someday I'll tell you the story of when I ran into Fred Willard in a ladies' restroom and it was hysterical. It was totally accidental and fabulous. And I'll tell you someday. But anyway, yeah, what happened? But yeah, like where did they go? And the answer is they don't know how to stay in their energy. They don't know how to stay in their lane while asking. So they don't ask or they ask terribly. And those are that can't happen, right?
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, personally, while I was discovering this with my own clients, I was also sub-coaching for someone whose sales ethics and my style were very, very different. And I was looking at up close, because I was serving the clients, what it's like when beautiful people are sold into something under duress. And I thought, of course my people don't want to do this because this is the result. I'm looking at them. And then those are the very people that I'm supposed to be empowering to turn around and sell their stuff. They just had the most negative sales experience of their lives.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Turn around and be like, hey, I feel great about selling. No. Right? No.
Right.
But that's why I focus on sales baggage, because that transaction sits in their head, sits in their heart, and on the call tells them, don't go there. Do not go there. Do not make that of yourself. Do not hurt the client like that. Do not take your preciousness and degrade it. None of that is necessary, y'all. None of it.
Woo, this is good stuff. Alrighty. Yeah. All right. So we are running out of time, but I want to make sure that, guys, if you're just like, oh my gosh, she's in my head, I have totally said these things, I feel these things or whatever. What I find is super important is that you need to go through the finish line. Like you need to go past the finish line. And with Catchwords, being the founder of Catchwords and helping people get leads, what really hurts is seeing people gather those leads and then not do something about it because they don't know what to do about it.
I did that for years. I did that for years. I had the best funnels and they were toilet bowls to nowhere.
Yeah.
Because there was no asking them, right? So it was just, hey, come get in my pipeline, get on my mailing list. Maybe I'll email you once a year. But I'm running ads. Like I'm spending money. I'm running ads to get people into the pipeline that went nowhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
So I would love for you to come back another time. We could talk even more about that. But with that being said, remember, if this resonated with you, pull out your cell phone. If you're driving, please pull over first. Pull out this cell. Oh, thank you very much. Annie is showing us. Can you please demonstrate, Annie? So you're going to pull out the cell phone and you're going to text to the number 411321 and the message is going to be easy. Easy. Right? And then if we ask you for your email address, don't forget that, because you're going to get ditch your sales baggage right in your mailbox. And then you're going to have access to any other juicy things that Annie may be dropping along the way. But especially if you're empathic, if you're introverted, if you get the rash, if you're just like sales isn't me or whatever, guess what? You need to deal with this, and you do need to ditch the sales baggage around it, because there is a pot of gold on the other side. Oh, you see, coming up to St. Patrick's Day, all that stuff.
There we go.
And remember, if you're outside of the US, you can use WhatsApp, and you just message 1-909-741-1321 with the message easy. All right. Any final words, my darling?
Listen, y'all. All the stuff that has been done to you by nasty salespeople, none of that behavior is required. But asking is. If you don't ask, you won't get, except burnout. So please get out there and ask.
Beautiful. You wonderful people, have a rockin' day. Bye now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of rocket fuel. Until next time, adios.